I've been traveling for the past 3 months full-time in this caravan, but in this video, I want to tell you why I don't think van life is for me. In fact, so much so that my wife and I have already moved back into a new house. From the outside, van life looks super sexy, like you get to travel to all these cool places, wake up on the beach every day, watch the sunrise and watch the sunset. But for me, there was a lot of negatives that went into traveling full time and being in a van like this. And I want to go through a few of those in this video. But first, let me make some coffee. Well, that's better. Now let me tell you why I don't think van life was for me. The first reason, and the one that I think most people don't understand, is that I actually really like my job. I enjoy what I do day to day. I've been setting my life up for the past 4, 5, 6 years to create a job that I really love, being a photographer and now a content creator. And that is something that I really love to do. And traveling on the road made that very hard. It actually made that process of doing the work that I love more difficult, and I was questioning for a long time whether that barrier was worth it. You know, obviously the lifestyle was amazing, and being able to go around and go to different places and be on the move all the time and see amazing things and have an experience that a lot of people aren't able to have, and to earn income on the road is always, you know, for me it was a blessing that I was able to do it, and I understand that not everyone was in that position, so I never took that for granted. But it did slow down that process a lot and stopped me being able to work, which inherently is what created income for me to be on the road. So not having the time, not having the space to be able to do the work that I really wanted to do was tough. And I think that really got to me. There's a lot of this job that, you know, is hard, but there's a lot of it that I really love as well. And being able to create content on the regular, being able to speak to people, being able to help people online as well, go out and take photos, come home and edit photos. It's something that I really love being able to do. To have a space to be able to do the work that fulfills me so much, and you don't understand how much that means to me. And I don't think I understood it as well until I went away from it, until I went traveling and went away from having a desk that I could come home to and do my work at, where I could record my podcast, where I could upload my Instagram content and record content to post and help other people day in, day out. That was something that I gained so much fulfillment from. And so to stop that and not be able to have the space to do it was tough. And I'm glad that I've finally gotten to a place now where I've realized that that was a big draw card in my life and something that I really enjoyed doing. I just turned all these lights on to make it look a little bit more professional, but this room is a mess. There's not much going on here. This is the desk. Stuff everywhere on the floor down here. I don't even have anything on the walls yet, so work in progress just yet, but it's easy to make a little corner of the room look semi-okay. The next factor that obviously played into me not loving traveling full-time was time and financial constraints. Now, starting with time constraints, traveling full-time and traveling around in a van is more time-consuming than I ever thought it would be. There is so much involved, and I think planning actually is the biggest one of those. Thinking about where you're going to sleep the next night, where you're going to be traveling to, where are the places that you can camp, you can't camp. And then the other thing was expense. The expense of traveling. Actually, we spent so much money on fuel, and then other allowances, like when things go wrong with the van and traveling around, there was so many more expenses that were involved that we just didn't foresee. There was a time towards the end of last year where our air conditioner broke down on a day that it was 38 degrees. And I think then we got a stretch of days over 40 degrees back to back, and we had to go and get a hotel for those nights. Now, getting a hotel with the dog's not easy, so we had to find a hotel room that would allow pets as well, so you got to pay a premium on top of that. But that was just to get air conditioning for the night, because we couldn't sleep because it was getting down to only like 28 degrees overnight, and sleeping in that was horrible. And so these little things that go into it, as much as we tried to go to the colder parts of Australia in those hotter months, it's still hot everywhere here in Australia. And there are things that you just can't avoid. Australia is a big country. There's big stretches between places, so driving and fuel costs are always going to come into it. And then the time constraints come back into that as well. I'm always someone that believes that it's easier to make money than it is to save money. And so saving money on the road, there was only so much we could do to actually save our costs and cut our costs down, because we always had those costs of traveling. And unless you're going to stay put in one spot and park up in a friend's driveway, then you're going to be spending money. So then I was like, well, it's easier to actually create money and actually make money for yourself on the road. But the time constraint in that we weren't getting much time in the day to actually do things that would create money. And I talked about not being able to work, and that was a big part of me being able to go on the road, was that I knew that I had this predictable income because I was doing the work. But it wasn't a fully passive income. I still have to work to create the income that I do. I still work with clients, with brands, upload content, things like that. And so not being able to do that work then slowed down the income that I could possibly make online. And then finally, the third reason, and the straw that broke the camel's back on van life for me, was it was so lonely. You know, I was so surprised by how lonely I would feel being out on the road. And I know Outback Australia is a lonely place itself, but traveling felt very isolating. And I've always been someone that has felt isolated, living in Sydney and being from Sydney. It's a big place, and I've always felt lonely there, even though there are people around. So I'm not talking about having other people, and I think that that's a good distinction to make, but having community and people who you can talk to. For me, I found that most other people traveling on the road were over the age of 65, mostly retirees. Other people with families as well during holiday times would go away, and those were older people with kids. Not many people. I didn't find many people traveling that were my age, and maybe I was in the wrong places. And like I talked about before, I'm not the type of person that goes down to the beach at 6 o'clock every morning and goes for a surf. So maybe my type of people were there, but I just don't know how to surf. Understanding that, I think, moves my life headed forward as well, in that community is something that I really want to build. I've always wanted to be able to build an online community, but an in-person community as well. I know that I've said that I'm an introvert, and I am, but I think I do gain a lot and bring a lot of energy off being around other people. And I'm not the most outgoing person, but being around people like that and being around people that have good positive energy really helps me and pushes me forward as well. So hopefully I can immerse myself in the community that I've moved back into here and get to know people in and around this community, but also online as well. I want to be able to create a space online that I can talk with other creative people. And I have the podcast, and I've always said that that's the biggest reason why I started the podcast, was to interview other creative people and talk to them about our shared experiences. And I think that we can all learn something from one another. But then also more broadly, just photographers who want to talk about anything photography related. It doesn't have to be that you're trying to, it doesn't have to be a course, doesn't have to be trying to make any sort of income off it. Just how can we build community and have these spaces? Because I think most good opportunities and most good friendships and most good experiences come from actually building community and having shared interests with other people and being able to talk and bond with other people. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to, moving back into this space, and something that I just didn't expect when traveling around. But do let me know if you guys have been traveling, long-time travelers, anyone here. Let me know in the comments, were you able to find a community? Was it something that you struggled with as well? I think for me, that was one of the really big reasons why I needed to come back into a space with other people. And so here I am, another empty room in this house, the house that I never thought I'd be back in. I never thought I'd be back in this type of environment again. I thought that I'd be traveling for a lot longer and then potentially, moving overseas and going traveling there. But trying these things for me has given me a great sense of understanding, and an understanding that I never would have gotten had I not tried things. And I think that that's the trap, is falling for advice from other people without trying it yourself. I always encourage people just to go and try things. There's no harm in trying, and I don't want anyone to think that this video is a failure. I think it's a learning for me, and not thinking that if you go and try something for 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, and then decide it's not for you, that's okay, because you've still learned something. And I've learned so much through this journey of the last 4 months of trying to go full-time traveling. So much about myself that I just didn't realize before, so much about what values I have and what I want for the rest of my life. Things that I could never have learned off asking other people what they've done before, because the end of the day, I've got to go out there and live my life. And I encourage any of you guys to go out there, live your life, try things you want to try. You know, you're only this age once. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. You've got to go out there and just try as many things as you can. I often reflect on my own photography business. Had I never have tried that, I would never be here today. And that was something that was considered a grey area, graduating from university with a degree that could have been successful if I'd gone down that path, but I just didn't enjoy it. So I took the chance to go into photography, and here I am today, creating content online for a bunch of people and being able to help people all over the world. And it's something that I'm forever grateful for. So just throw yourself into things, try things. If they don't work out, there's never a failure. There's always a learning in it. And I hope that you guys are able to pull from this a little bit of something that encourages you to go out there and try something. Just because van life wasn't for me, full-time travel wasn't for me, does not mean that it's not for you. And you should definitely give everything a go. If there's an itch, scratch it. You never know what opportunities could come from it.